What's happening, you beautiful nerds? Trumpeter Bobby Spellman here to talk to you about one of my all-time favorite trumpet exercise books. Herbert Lincoln Clarke wrote his technical studies for the cornet all the way back in 1912. And here, 112 years later, it remains an undisputed classic of trumpet educational literature. While teaching recently, I realized how much I use this book and how much can be done with each of the simple exercises in this book. So today I want to present to you a video love letter to the Clarke studies on this episode of Trumpet with Bob. All right, so here we have my tattered copy of Herbert L. Clarke's Technical Studies for the Cornet. The first study is a very useful little exercise on chromatics, starting with the low F sharp, going chromatically up to C, back to low F sharp. This is a very useful exercise for two reasons. Number one, it is great for dexterity because playing in the low register requires that you use all of your fingers. There's a lot of third finger going on there. So it's a very useful exercise. It's very important to be comfortable with your chromatics. It also serves as a great way of building your lower register and improving your tone in the low register, which in turn will improve your tone in all the registers. Furthermore, you can use this exercise in the same way you can use the other exercises in the book as a breath exercise and to maintain better control of the trumpet. However, it is the second exercise, the second study in the book, which is really the crown jewel of the H.L. Clarke Technical Studies for the Cornet. And this is the exercise that I'm going to be talking about today, and it is my favorite one, and there's so much that can be done with this. So, before we move on, I'm going to play it for you so you can get a little sense for what this sounds like in case you're unfamiliar. Now, the reason this simple four-measure exercise has remained so popular after more than a century is because it is so well constructed. It's like the pyramids of Giza, or the bicycle, or the turkey club sandwich. It has stood the test of time because it is so well designed. This simple four-measure pattern repeats back on itself indefinitely, using all of the notes of the major scale except for one. It uses a simple pattern of the scale 1, 2, 3, 1 that it then takes through the various scale degrees. And then, towards the end, just when you think that it's going to get tedious, old Herbie Clarke pulls an old switcheroo and changes the direction of the pattern for the last one measure. That nice little melody is a work of art, and there's a million different ways to use it, which we are going to talk about right now. All right, the first way that I use the Clarke exercise is as a means of reinforcing your understanding of scales and keys. It's important to learn your scales in order to be able to play in different keys comfortably, as well as in order to be able to navigate the requirements of the instrument. Now, if you learn your scales, but you only learn them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're missing out on a bunch of other musical permutations that you might need to explore in order to feel comfortable in any key. So, the Clarke study, the second study, really gives you the opportunity to work out your various scales in different permutations. All right, second thing that the Clarke studies allow you to do is to focus on your finger dexterity. Now, these patterns will take you through all kinds of different patterns in different keys, so it gives you the opportunity to work out all kinds of different permutations that your fingers might have to go through, strengthening your fingers. This is especially helpful if you're just starting out on the trumpet and you're trying to build up your finger muscles. So this is a great way to use these, is as you're practicing your scales, you're also reinforcing your dexterity and building up the muscles in your fingers. All right, the third way I like to use these exercises is as a means of practicing articulation. So, at first, Herbert L. Clarke himself recommends that you slur through the entire exercise. But very quickly, I like to encourage my students to single tongue the exercise because it gives you the opportunity to practice articulation in a musical kind of context. etc. However, you also have the opportunity to practice double tonguing or other tonguing techniques such as doodle tonguing or jazz tonguing. So I might double tongue, sounds like this. Or I might jazz tongue. Or I might try doodle tonguing. You can also invent your own articulation techniques, tonguing and then slurring. I'll try one right now. I'm going to make it up. Here we go. A million possibilities. So you can sit down, I'm just improvising this stuff, but you can sit down and work out different articulation techniques, switching off between single tonguing and double tonguing. You could use the whole exercise just to practice the ka sound of your double tonguing. In any circumstance, this is just a format that is a familiar pattern that you have in your head. It's a musical pattern that you can put on repeat and try different things in what I would consider a controlled environment in order to be able to improve the specific technique that you are trying to work on at that time. In this case, it is articulation. All right, the fourth way that I use the Clarke study is to combine articulation and dexterity to make sure that all of your parts are coordinated. Now, that doesn't just include the articulation part of your tongue, but also the position of your tongue in your mouth, the way that you're using your air, and the way your fingers are going. If you are not coordinating your fingers and your tongue, things get pretty sloppy. So your goal, especially as you start out playing the trumpet, is to really line up all this stuff. In the same way that a guitar player might line up his or her left hand with the picking hand, we have to coordinate our tongue and our fingers. So this is a great opportunity to practice coordinating your tongue and your fingers in different tempos. All right, the fifth way I like to use the Clarke studies is as an opportunity to work on one's time. So I would always recommend playing this exercise with a metronome because not only does it improve your sense of time, but it also shows you where in the exercise you're having a particular challenge, and it gives you the opportunity to isolate any challenging passages in the exercise. For example, sometimes people will speed up through the easy parts and slow down through the hard parts, but the metronome will tell you where the easy parts and the hard parts are because you'll stumble over yourself once you get to the tricky parts. So I always recommend using a metronome for that reason, but in addition to that, you can practice, first of all, playing it in quarter notes, for example, etc. But then in order to continue to work on your time, you could slow that down and work on it playing in half notes, for example. So let's say the metronome, I've got the metronome going here. It might sound a little something like this. So now I've only got the metronome going every half note instead of every quarter note. That gives me the opportunity to make sure I'm keeping my time consistent in between the clicks. Now you can do the same thing with whole notes. You can do the same thing with two whole notes. You're just taking this one isolated exercise and trying to play with the metronome in time to reinforce your internal sense of time. All right, the sixth way I like to use the Clarke exercises is as an opportunity to practice breath control. Herbert L. Clarke himself recommends this in the book, and he recommends trying to play through the exercise as many times as you can on one breath in order to improve your lung capacity and to work on your air control. So for fun, let's run through it. I'm going to play one. We'll do E major. I'm going to run through it. We're going to take a big breath and see how many times I can get through it in one go. Ready? Here we go. Woo! All right. So I could play around with that a little bit and see how many times I could run through it in order to practice my lung capacity and my breath control. All right, finally, the seventh way I like to use the Clarke studies is as an opportunity to practice range and also endurance as it relates to range. So in the book, Clarke study number 2 goes all the way up to number 44, which is C major, and it goes from middle C up to high G. However, you can continue to bring these exercises up into the stratosphere in order to practice not only your range and endurance, but your accuracy in the upper register. So that might sound something like this. And then you can continue to move up in half steps into the stratosphere, always reinforcing your ability to accurately play above the staff. All right, gang, there's 7 ways that you can use this very simple but so beautifully constructed exercise by Herbert L. Clarke. I'm sure there's about a million other ways that you can use this exercise, and if you have different ways that you like to use it, put them in the comments. We can all learn from each other. All right, gang, I hope you liked this episode. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one, and you can find us on our Patreon for some outtakes and some transcription videos and other things that you might not find on this channel. All right, gang, hope you have a wonderful time practicing. We'll catch you in the next one. See ya. All right, friends, thanks so much for checking out this video. We hope it helps in your quest for the majesty of musical self-expression. If you like what we're doing here, you can give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one. And if you'd like to support the creation of new videos like this, you can become a subscriber on our Patreon page at patreon.com/Ridgewood School of Music. There, subscribers will have access to more in-depth follow-up videos, as well as solo transcriptions, various musical exercises, and all kinds of fun stuff. If you'd like to follow me on my musical adventures, you can find me on Instagram at Bob Spellman, and you can follow the Ridgewood School of Music's other social media pages by following the links in the description below. The Ridgewood School of Music is currently accepting new students online or in person in the New York City area. If you're interested in lessons, you can find us at www.ridgewoodschoolofmusic.com, or you can send us an email at ridgewoodschoolofmusic@gmail.com, and we can set you up with a great teacher for the instrument and the style of music that you're interested in studying. All right, gang, well, have a wonderful time practicing, and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.